Look, I've been doing this for over 17 years, and this is going to be relevant to our clients on this call, in addition to anybody else who may not be marketing or struggling with it today. Because we're going to be talking about not just the overall marketing strategies, but what you actually need to do as a business owner to make your marketing work for you. We heard from people like Alex and Matt who have single digit cost of marketing numbers, and that's difficult to do if you're just paying somebody to run some ad campaigns for you. So what I really want to do is take the next half an hour or so here and really dive into the nuances of what we do, how it works, and what your responsibilities are. And then we're going to talk about AI, and I have two really awesome tools to share with you guys here. So let's jump in. There's two things that you very much need to keep in the top of your mind when it comes to marketing. The first is you must treat marketing like investing in the stock market. You don't go to your financial advisor with a pile of cash and expect to see a return in the first 30 days. It's just not how the stock market works, and it's typically not how marketing works either. Second, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. I want you guys all to write this down. If more than 40% of your lead volume comes from one channel, you have what's called single channel risk. This is an investment banker term, and it's the risk they use to evaluate how much risk they're putting on a business based on their lack of diversification. So for instance, if most of your business comes from meta ads, so Facebook and Instagram, it only takes one small algorithm change to crush the effectiveness of those ads. They literally update their algorithm multiple times every single day throughout the year. And just to prove the point here, Meta just released a major algorithm update earlier this quarter. It's called the Andromeda update. You guys can go Google this if you'd like. So if somebody's running your ad campaigns, highly recommend going to ask them how they've adjusted their strategy, because it directly impacts your involvement on running those ad campaigns. They not only need videos, they need a multitude and a variety of videos now. Videos now well outperform images there. So just as an example. But here's the bottom line, guys. These channels, Meta, Google, Bing, any AI platform, they don't care about you or your business, right? They only care about what makes them more money. So it's very easy to waste money on these channels. And you can ask yourself one simple question to determine how much risk you have. If your main lead channel drops by 90% next year, could your business survive? Now, on the flip side of this, here's what I see a lot of. I see a lot of businesses investing not enough money into multiple channels, and then they complain about not seeing results. They spread themselves too thin, right? Now, here at Base Coat Marketing, we have a core value. It's called Be the 20%. So out of all the things that you can do in the digital marketing world, we only invest our time into the 20% of things that are going to generate 80% of your results, right? It's the 80-20 rule. It's true in life and business. And when we look at where most volume comes from, quality volume, it's going to be from two main channels online. Paid social, so things like Meta, Instagram, TikTok, which are interest-based marketing channels. So we're targeting top of funnel. And then paid search, it's going to be Bing, Google, AI. These are what's called intent-based marketing channels. So interest and intent. Now, the takeaway is you must be investing in both channels. Investments can come in multiple forms. So we're not just talking about money, that's part of it, but it's also time for content creation. Whichever investment strategy you choose, just make sure you're investing it in both. You can invest time into creating content for social media and then run ads on Google, right? And I get this question all the time. Should we stop or cut back on marketing during this time of the year? And the answer is yes, if you're stupid, right? The algorithms, they actually penalize advertisers who start and stop their ad campaigns. It's just, and it's not even, they're not penalizing you on purpose. It's just how the math works behind the algorithm. The algorithms reward those who have more data behind them. So if you're starting and stopping, they're making algorithm updates between each start and stop. Your data is not going to be accurate. So they're starting fresh every single time, right? So we use a strategy here called variable budgets, where we actually shift budgets between channels, such as paid social and paid search, which is intent and interest-based marketing. And this works because we're shifting focus away from buyer intent. So when demand for your services are low, we shift that over to an interest-based awareness campaign, where that's going to be present even on Christmas Day, right? People are on social media scrolling through those hits of dopamine. Thanksgiving, Christmas, 365 days a year. Now, the key here for this strategy to work is you must shift your budgets weeks or even months before that seasonality hits. This really just provides time for the algorithm to make those adjustments before you need it. And this is the most important thing. If you walk away with nothing else today, never turn off your marketing, right? Just like the sales, you never want to turn that off. I don't care where you live. We had a client in Fairbanks, Alaska, right? We were still running ads in the heart of winter up there because there's always business. We talked to Matt earlier on this call. You got to be proactive, but there's always business out there, even between the holidays. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking is like, hey, I've tried marketing on these channels before and all the leads were shit, right? But here's the reality. You may have put in the reps, but you likely didn't lift heavy enough or for long enough. Let's take this real world example here. Say you're a hardworking mom, sitting at a break room at work, eating lunch, right? You're scrolling through social media, searching for those hits of dopamine, and you're not on there looking for anything in particular, right? But then bam, you're hit with an ad to repaint the exterior of your house. And look, you happen to hate the color of your house. So you go submit a form and then you go about your day. Then like 30 seconds later, your phone rings from the company that you just submitted that form to. They're doing their job, right? They're speed to lead, but you weren't expecting that. You're not ready to talk to somebody in your break room at work. So this is what's called interest-based marketing. We like to say you're buying tomorrow's lead today. This is an example of a top of funnel marketing channel, and it's going to stress test your sales process. We have clients that acquire leads on this channel that don't close for 3 to 6 months later. Now, let's take another example here. This is a homeowner who's ready to repaint their house today. How do they find you? Where do they go? Well, they're going to go either on Google or ChatGPT or Claude or their favorite AI, and they're going to type in something like best painter near me, right? Now, they're going to find you based on a recommendation or your reputation online, and they're going to either reach out via phone or book an estimate online. This is called intent-based marketing, also known as bottom of funnel marketing. This is what every business owner wants. So you might be asking, hey, Austin, why don't we just focus on Google for new business? And don't get me wrong, Google is great. It's one of our primary advertising channels, and it's likely going to stay that way even in the advent of AI. Not that we're not focusing on that as well. But if you only want quality leads, your business will remain inconsistent forever. Let's pull up that marketing funnel here again. Which part of this funnel is bigger, interest or intent? Right, so interest is at the top, intent is at the bottom. There's always going to be more volume at the top of this funnel. So for every homeowner who is ready to repaint their house today, there are likely about 10 to 20 more who are interested. So how do we turn shit leads into gold? We nurture. We like to say leads are seeds. And if I'm being completely honest, this is where I see a lot of finger pointing. It's where a lot of businesses fall short. And I wouldn't say it's due to a lack of effort, right? You guys are all hard at work, hammering the phones, calling back those leads. I think it has a lot more to do with a lack of understanding of a simple understanding of how marketing and sales work together. Here's the data. 80% of all sales are made within the 5th to 12th follow-up. We're not even considering the touch points that led to that initial outreach. So we talked earlier today about the old standard used to be about 7 touch points for somebody to take action. It's about 10 to 14 now. Once they make that outreach, well, guess what? You still have work to do on the sales side. You still need to get them on the phone and sell the next step. And your follow-up process is critical for this one number. It's called set rate, also known as book rate, right? It's basically you divide estimates by the number of leads that you're sent. That's your set rate or your book rate. We aim for our clients to have a minimum average across all channels of 70%. If you don't know that number, you need to be tracking that today. If you're below 50% per one channel, everything's on fire. Now, our multi-7-figure clients with the highest set rate, I'm talking 90% and above, they have a 90-day nurture sequence. Like they're hammering those leads in perpetuity. We only have our clients commit to 14 days because we do see a pretty big drop off after that. But here's a visual representation of what that outreach looks like. It's not that hard. During the week, we are going to contact prospects at different times of the day on different days of the week. This is simply to meet them when they're ready to talk. So let's take that soccer mom on her lunch break at work, right? Maybe Wednesday afternoons might work better for her, but she won't tell you that. Why? Because then she's committing her busy schedule to someone she doesn't trust to call her back on time. Let that sink in. Professionalism in this industry is lacking. But I have some good news. This is a resource you guys can all take away with you right now. Giving away our entire 30-day follow-up SOP for our clients. You guys already have access to this. But this includes our visual guide, scripts, target KPIs. There's a lot in here, right? This is swipe and deploy. It pairs great if you have a CRM, such as like Drip Jobs or Jobber with some automated outreach. You can literally copy and paste these, the script over there. They have variables built into it that you can simply swap out. Scan the QR code or go to basecoatmarketing.com/follow-up. Again, that's basecoatmarketing.com/follow-up. And listen, while we're on the topic of diversification, there's also a way that you can diversify offsite, such as physical marketing channels. This is why whenever we look at marketing online and offline, we will not bring on a client if they can't afford to do both. Even though we don't offer offline marketing directly, right? We have partners for that because we don't want to be your only basket for any business. For example, when these can be things like EDDM, direct mail, door hangers, yard signs, vehicle reps. Quick story about vehicle reps. We have a client with an army of wrapped vehicles, and they train their team to take the long way to appointments. They have some target neighborhoods they like to go after. They intentionally drive through those target neighborhoods, even if it's completely out of the way. It's all in an effort to increase brand awareness, drive down their cost of marketing, and it's extremely effective. And look, I mentioned direct mail and EDDM. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard, yeah, I've tried it before, it doesn't work. That's bullshit. Like any channel, direct mail has a strategy, but it needs to be executed effectively. We recommend sending to no less than 20,000 households, 2 to 4 times a year. Not mention he sends about 5 times a year. Think of this like a brand awareness campaign. It's not a once and done strategy, and you should not expect immediate returns. Again, you're investing in the stock market here. If you only have the budget to send to 10,000 households once, don't do it. Put that investment elsewhere. And regardless of what you put in front of your audience, just be sure that it includes an offer tied to urgency. Okay, now look, in the world of marketing, especially in this industry, there are 3 lead levers: volume, cost, and quality. And generally, you cannot have all 3. But here's the catch. What helps drive down those levers in your favor comes down to one thing: content. I want you all to write this down. Content creates cash. Okay, content creates cash. The better content you create at scale, the more cash you can expect to put back in your pocket. All right, this is why we literally have a videographer and an in-house media editing team. It's that important. Now, I talked to you guys a little bit earlier about Marcus Sheridan. I want to show you a little clip. It's a 30-second clip from our podcast with him. For those of you who don't know Marcus, he's a best-selling author. His books, They Ask You Answer and Endless Customers, have helped us cultivate our entire content marketing strategy here at Basecoat. Highly recommend anyone listening in to go listen to that podcast episode. It's basecoatmarketing.com/podcast. But here's a 30-second highlight of this.
They're like, I got into this because, I enjoyed working with my hands. And now you tell me I need to be a stinking media company. Believe it or not, yep, that's what I'm telling you. And you got to get over yourself because you're an entrepreneur. And the moment you became an entrepreneur, you said, I'm giving up my right to complain about what the market wants. And if the market wants to watch the thing online with video, then that's what I'm going to give them. The tragedy is there any more aesthetic of an industry in the world than the paint contracting space?
So now just to hammer this point home even further, at no point in human history has a local business been able to reach their target audience at scale for free as we can today. Do you know how much it costs to run a TV ad? Like literally, I had to go research this. On average, between $20,000 and $150,000. And that's excluding big events like Super Bowls and election years and all that kind of stuff. Historically, this has been out of your reach, right? But times have changed. And look, I know what you're all thinking. I take before and after shots all the time. But look, in this day of the internet, where filters and fake influencers dominate our news feeds, guys, authenticity is hard to find. and authenticity sells. So whether you're running meta ads or uploading pictures to your website, you guys need authentic human faces, right? Think of family photos, pictures of you and a partner in front of a Christmas tree or on vacation. Get you and your team at your favorite local restaurant. Go smile in front of that local restaurant. Don't make it a chain. Make it like some local mom and pop, right? Tie your business to the local community. Uh, Fun fact, people love puppy pictures. So if you don't have a dog, go grab a neighbor's dog and take a picture with it, right? The bottom line, you want images that include human faces and have nothing to do with painting. Now, because your customers do not buy services from a company, it's important to keep in mind that they buy from people that they know, like, and trust. They buy from other humans. So while images are great, videos will outperform images 10 to 1 twice on Sunday, right? So we want to spend some time on this one because this is really where I see some challenges. When we ask our clients to get on camera, the first time, what happens? They freeze. It's like Ricky Bobby. They don't know what to do with their hands, right? And there's a simple reason for this. We as humans think that everything is about us. When we get in front of the camera, we're worried about how we sound or the wrinkles on our shirt. But that's really just our ego talking. Instead, we should be worried about how much value that we can deliver to our audience. So let's make this less scary. I want to give you guys a quick breakdown of how to create proper content that's going to print more money in your sleep. So how do we create content at scale just using your phone? I don't need you guys to go pick up any camera equipment here. So let's make this really simple. Any video you create must contain 3 simple components. The first is going to be a verbal or a visual hook. This should be about 3 to 5 seconds long. It's quick. And for those scrolling on social media, consciously or subconsciously, you've seen this before. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm about to ruin your news feed forever because you can't unsee this. So a visual hook is somebody jumping or sliding into the screen, right? A verbal hook is generally executed by creating curiosity, such as asking a question or sparking a conversation based on, something that you might be interested in. So things like, did you know that? Or hear me out, or stop scrolling, right? Whatever that hook is, it must be high energy. This is designed to capture that 3-second goldfish attention span that we all have now. Here's a quick example of what a hook looks like. This is what $23,000 looks like. That is the average increase in perceived property value after repainting a house like this one behind me right now. And the best part is, it typically costs less than half of that. Now, if you're a homeowner, that might make you a little curious. Again, this is just meant to capture attention. Now, from there, we need to get to the meat of the story. So this is where we need to start telling a story. We want to aim for no less than 10 to 20 seconds here. You're going to simply call out a common customer pain point. So your story should just be one part of your customer journey. So typically in a sales process, the first thing that happens after they reach out is you need to sell the estimate, right? We're not selling the project at that point. We're just selling the next step. So again, we're going for authenticity here. Here's an example of what that looks like. Now, if this sparked your interest and you're looking to book a call with our team, here's what you can expect. We simply schedule a day to stop by, and we arrive on time because we value yours. A friendly face like mine will show up to shake your hand and understand your project. Okay, great. Now, finally, the call to action. We want to aim for about 10 seconds or less here. This is like the most important part. We need to create urgency to manufacture intent. And here's an example of what a call to action looks like. Right now, we only have 6 spots remaining on our schedule. Our no pressure estimates are free and they only take a few minutes of your time. Finally, we'll hand you a 100% free quote with a price breakdown. Remember, this is only available for the next 6 homeowners who click on this ad, so click on the link below or give us a call to get started. Again, we're creating urgency around an offer. And if you notice, our offer isn't even a discount, right? So why does this work? Because when somebody wants something, they're not thinking about you or your business. They're thinking about one thing, and that's what's in it for me. Your audience doesn't care about you, right? They only care about what you can offer them. We live in a very shallow society, unfortunately. So consider this. Why does every car dealership and big box store run holiday promotions? You're about to see a week's worth of Black Friday ads come up here soon. But why? Because they're crafting an offer that taps into a fear of missing out. This is the best way to motivate a buyer who is otherwise uninterested in what you're selling. And if we're talking about companies on the NASDAQ here, right? They've tested this at a much larger scale. They wouldn't do it if it didn't work. And look, when it comes to video content, don't stop at scripted talking heads, right? Aim for variety. Leverage your existing SOPs for this. Make content creation part of your daily routine, right? And here's the thing I want everybody to recognize. If you don't look back a year from now and cringe at the very first video you made, you likely waited too long. Remember this, success favors action, right? I want you guys to just keep this in mind. Repetition is the mother of mastery. The more you do this, the better results you can expect. Okay, so I know you probably have some questions like, where do I film? Who's going to hold the camera? What do I do with all this content? So I want to give you guys another resource here. Just like before, simply scan the QR code here or go to basecoatmarketing.com/video. We have our entire video creation script here. This is going to include an example video, types of videos, how you go about recording this. Again, that's basecoatmarketing.com/video. Now, when we talk about leverage in this industry, it's really about how much volume we can create to create enough opportunities for you to see a return. I think where I see the most failure in the marketing world is you're just not investing enough to get enough volume. And the best way to do this is completely free. It's your online reputation. We cannot buy online reviews, and it's one of the most weighted ranking factors on Google, right? So here's the thing though, not all reviews are created equal. Whenever we talk about reviews, I really only care about reviews on your business profile today. That might change tomorrow, but right now, that is where the reputation lies. So to assist you with this, I have one more gift for you. This is our review capture script. We provide this to our clients during onboarding. And here's a KPI. You should aim to capture reviews on 90% of the jobs you complete. And this script will get you there. It's simple, but it's based on data. Simply scan this QR code or go to basecoatmarketing.com/reputation. This is an entire script. Just implement it in your final project walkthrough. We have clients who capture roughly 80 to 90% consistently throughout the year. At the very least, aim for one new review per week. And here's a fun fact. You can go ask your neighbors, friends, and family for a character review. They can go say, hey, John over here at Base Coat Painting is great at what he does. Highly recommend him. They don't have to lie. They can just go leave you a review. Now, finally, marketing is only as important as the data that you measure. We need to evaluate critical drivers. Somebody else in the chat brought this up earlier, that move the needle in your company. And specifically, there are 4 data points that you must know without even thinking about this. Unfortunately, the math in this industry is very, very simple. These are the first 3. There's a simple sales funnel here, and I'm not even a big fan of calling this a funnel to begin with because that would indicate that everyone that dropped in the top comes out the bottom, and that's just not how this works. So let's call this a filter, right? Each stage of the filter is a decision the prospect can make. So each stage excludes them or filters them from entering the following stage. So this decision-making filter, otherwise known as a funnel, just takes big numbers and it makes them smaller, right? Make sense so far? Okay. So the 3 numbers that you need to focus on are your set rate, your close rate, and your average job size. You need to know those with like the back of your hand. The benchmarks for these numbers are very simple. So grab a pen and write this down. Industry standards are 70% set rate. That's estimates divided by leads. 35% close rate. That's closed jobs divided by estimates. And a $5,000 average job size. I know what some of you are thinking. My close rate's 80%. That's great, but that number is not scalable. Others are saying, hey, my average job size is 10K. That's great. That's market dependent. We have some clients that service yacht club members. They have bigger houses, right? Depending on where you live, the job size is going to be impacted by that, but you should never go below $5,000. Now, we have some clients who intentionally raise their rates. I know Matt brought this up earlier. If they go above 35 or 40%, they want to get that number back down. So just as an example, these numbers are fungible. But more importantly, they're based on real world hard data. And more importantly, we track these numbers monthly. And here's what that looks like. This is actually an example of a client of ours. We have another year's worth of data to pin on this, by the way. We onboarded this client January of last year. They are still with us today. The top row in red here is their all-in investments. So our services, ad spend, everything. Middle rows, the purple, that's the lead volume, that's the output. So volume and cost. And just by the way, somebody brought this up in the past. This is only from our marketing channels. They have another 5 million on top of this. So we don't keep track of anything that we don't produce for them. The bottom rows, I really like to focus on the bottom line, which is in the green down here. And specifically, we report numbers like set rate, close rate, and average job size back to them. But note that we don't report vanity metrics like clicks, impressions, and visits because you guys cannot deposit that in the bank account. So if your agency's reporting those numbers to you, they're important for them to track, but they don't mean anything to you. That's not your measure of success. But why do we report these numbers back to our clients at all? Especially when most of them own their own CRMs. They have reporting built in, right? Well, first, I don't care what CRM you use. The data is not 100% accurate. And you need good data to make decisions. This isn't always a limitation of the platform. In fact, most times it's an attribution problem, right? But given the fact that we know exactly where the leads are coming from and when the event occurs, such as when an estimate is booked or a job is closed, we can accurately report ROI numbers down to the penny. Now, the last row of this dashboard is the most important, and that's the fourth and final KPI. That is your cost of marketing, right? So April through December, this client was sub 5% for the year. Year to date, they spent $85K to generate 2.2 million in return at a 3.7% annual cost of marketing. Yes, this client was happy. Now, again, the important thing I want you guys to emphasize here is you cannot deposit a like, click, or impression in the bank account. So if your marketing agency is including those vanity metrics in your report, go ahead and find a different marketing partner. And for those of you who don't know how to track these numbers or want to hold their marketing partner accountable, we created a free calculator for this. Simply scan the QR code or go to basecoatmarketing.com/calculator. This is all 100% free. You can plug in your numbers. It'll output the results.